Today we are going to talk about coding. I'm going to do a little bit basic overview about how you create codes. I'm not going to be talking about the theory of code building. That's a sort of a different topic in and of itself, but I'll show you how you can create codes in MAXQDA and the ways you can code data using the document browser, the way you can code data using the smart coding tool, which is probably my absolute favorite tool, and categorize survey data. Both are very similar tools, and we'll also talk about some of the auto coding options that you have through text searches, Word Explorer, and MAXDictio, and the ability to do searches, find content, and search results and auto code that content. So I'll use a few slides, but most of what we're going to do is we're going to walk through this live. When you have questions, please use the chat. Excuse me. In MAXQDA, you'll notice in the ribbon or the menu structure of the software, there is a menu that's focused just on codes, and that provides access to several important features, such as the ability to create new codes, a graphical ability to do creative coding of building a code system, the smart coding tool, which I'll spend a lot of time on later, ability to look at code statistics, to identify codes as favorites, keyboard shortcuts, to import and export a code system, and to import and codes and memos from Excel, and even to create a cloud of your codes, so as a visualization. It's not the only menu tool you'll use, but it is an important element. It's something that you will go to regularly. In fact, if you want to use smart coding, you're going to go to the code memo to get to it. In addition to that, within MAXQDA itself, the code system has a series of icons, and you'll notice things like that create new code icon, same icon that was right here. There's a lot of duplicate. The PowerPoints aren't copied, no, but you'll have access to the video. You can email me if you want a copy of the PowerPoint. And that's mgizzy@gmail. And my point is, I want to kind of hit at the idea that there's a lot of features here. There's duplications of where you identify things, and so in the code system icons, it has the ability. It has a variety of icons that do different things here. I'm not going to just sort of read through these, but I want you to see this. And in MAXQDA, if you hover over an icon, it will pop up the name of that tool as well. So the code system is a place where there are resources tied to creating codes. The document browser system also has a whole bunch of icons that are code related. These are for using an existing code. These are actually coding with a new code, coding in Vivo, and I'll show that and explain these differences. Open coding is where every time you click, it's creating a new code. Highlight coding is where you're creating codes that are literally highlights, and you can rename them, which is nice. Emoticoding, where you can actually use little, emoticons, emoticons to do coding. I don't tend to do it, but I can see reasons why one might want to. The nice part is once you create an emoticode code, it's in your coding system, so it's very simple. And so on. You can actually use the recent codes you've done, and you can undo coding through the menu. So the code system has code tools. This icon is a new code. This icon looks a little bit different, but it's a new code, the plus. Okay. And then this is in vivo of it. And again, I'll explain these when we're live. That'll be the easiest way. Uh, when you are in a document and you have selected text, you can right click on the document, on the selection, and you also have those same coding options. The ability to add a new code, to code in vivo, or to use the last code that you used, which is oftentimes very, very helpful. Again, I mentioned emoticodes. MAXQDA 2022 has a ton of them, so pretty much it's a complete set of icons that you could use. But like you think about this exclamation point could be a type or a check mark, could be a very valuable code, particularly if you assign a name to it, that it shows up in the document for you. So there's lots of potential there. It's all about diversity in the sense of giving users choices. And you'll see here, this looks a lot like the same sort of emoticon type icon you would get in an iPhone or something. In terms of there's a lot of stuff there. Yeah, and they tend to be, yeah, those are actually like Apple icons. I think they're using the Apple sort of models of them. Um, um, Anytime you click that, create a new code, in whatever format, like this or this. Yes, I'm jumping all over this PowerPoint. It brings you to this window and it lets you create the name of the code. You can add a color to it for the code, which is useful. And if the code is a subcode of another code, you can have it use the color of the parent code. You can, from the beginning, add in the code memo defining it, very valuable and important. And you can even add a comment about the coded segment that you're creating at that time. So this in and of itself is useful. I'm just about done with these slides and we'll jump in. These examples, you'll notice the green. I didn't update these graphics from MAXQDA 2020. The only difference here is it's orange or gray. It's gray now instead of green there. But display codes from activated documents in the code system. So this is a full code system here. And this, by the way, this is what we call a parent code, and these are subcodes or child codes or top level codes or second level codes. They can tweak down. Um, if you have activated documents, you click on this icon and it's showing you the code system the codes that exist in your activated document. So there's a lot of flexibility here. But again, I'll show you a bunch of this later on. In a coding system that's complex, there's a search tool where, like, you'll notice here, I have two different codes that involve the word robbery, and this enables me to search to find within the code system. That can be helpful because sometimes you're scrolling through a large code system and you're like, where is it? There's also preferences that you have the ability to tweak. You can change the way the coding system displays information. Does it show the coding segments in all documents? Does it show them in the open document, sorry, within the document group? You have different ways of viewing your codes. You can change your preferences of how it's viewed. So there's a lot of flexibility there. So I'm going to make PowerPoint go away. So right now I'm in one of the example projects that comes with MAXQDA, although mine's been tweaked because I'm constantly adding stuff to this because I use this fairly regularly in different webinars. And it's sort of a playground for me in terms of a sandbox to explore different things. We pointed out here the code menu. We have the 4 different windows, the document system, the documents. You'll notice I have the interviews activated right now because I'm going to use that. I have the document browser and retrieve segments. So if I were to select this, and if I have something activated from the code system and the documents, I will see the retrieves. That retrieves one segment that has fixed hours. Let's do flexible hours. 8 coded segments. Okay. You'll also notice, even within retrieve segments, we have access to other tools, such as coding retrieve segments with a new code. So I didn't include that in the graphic. There are lots of ways to access stuff. So for right now, I've got these documents open. That's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to simplify our display, and I'm going to turn off the document system, and I'm going to turn off retrieve segments. And the reason I'm doing this is so we can focus. So right here, I have interview codes, and I have the document browser. Okay. I might need to go back and forth to, you know what, I am going to keep the document system open. I'm just going to shrink it. So I'll give most of my space here to this. So you'll have to decide in building a project of how to create your coding system. You know, are you deductively building a system from theory? And in fact, if I do a webinar, and in fact, I won't be doing that webinar this month, but at Max Days, I'll be doing a 45-minute session on paraphrasing documents. And you could have literature that you're paraphrasing, and you can actually use one of the paraphrasing tools to help build a coding system, kind of out of your paraphrases. Well, that's a topic that goes beyond what we're doing here. But you'll have to decide, are you coding as you go inductively? You're reading your documents, adding your code. Does theory drive your coding system? Are you using interview data so that you have interview questions and those become your basic codes? You know, sort of your interview question codes, like surveys type situations or interviews. Are you using grounded theory where you're going to literally be reading and coding as you go through? There's numerous options and numerous approaches. I'm going to start with I'm going to just do it for just 2 minutes, close this into a very clean, empty project. So I've got a project. I don't even have any documents in it, so I'll just add a document. Whatever. So I have a document system and I want to create codes. How do I create codes? I have a couple options. One, I can use new code right here. I click that, it brings me new code. Okay. I can do the same thing right here. Brings new code. Exact same tool. This is going to be, I don't know, code 1. I'm literally just, and I'm not even going to save this project. I just want you to see in a very clean way what your options are. So I have a code here. You'll notice here it says created by Michael Gizzi. There's a memo. The memo was just said sample for webinar, right? That's a code memo. I'll show you this later, but the code summary is a really neat tool too, because you can use this to create a summary of all the coding that you've done with a particular code. But again, that jumps us into analysis. So you'll notice here, there's now a plus sign. If I do that, it creates a new code. Subcode 1. If I do this here, might want to spell correctly, 2. Now, wait a second. So I'm going deeper. How far can I go? I can keep going. I assume it lets me keep even going further and further. Now, that's fine. That gets real complex. Don't really encourage it. How about say I want to change this? I accidentally click this here to creating this. I click this instead of at code 1. I could take code 2, drag it like this, and raise it a level. So now I have a top level code and sub level codes. Does that make sense? Hopefully. I'll admit, this is the type of thing that you have to be very precise with your mouse, or in my instance, trackpad. But I could also take this and drag it back in and move it down if I want. I can collapse the codes. Code 1, code 4, sample document. I'm going to give us a little text to work with here. I wasn't planning on using a blank document, so why not use Max Days 2022 as my example? My sample document is set for editing. There we go. So now I got some text I can work with, right? I have this code here. I can change it by renaming it if I want. I'm going to call this tools. So I've got a code. I've created some codes here. I'm going to switch to the document browser. And in the document browser, now I've got it set to edit, so I'll turn that off. So now this is just a very simple document, right? It's not a lot here. When I highlight text, notice, okay, you see how these are all, they're not accessible? As soon as I select text, these all show up. And now I have the ability here, it says code highlighted segment, create a new code in Vivo, open coding, highlighting mode emoticon. So again, like I showed you this before, right? A ton of them, right? Like more icons than you could ever need. I bet it even has the poop one. So I highlight something here, and I want to code this as a tool. It's talking about a tool, right? You can aggregate the results of the subcodes depending on what you've set the display frequency to. And you can do a lot of analysis with the codes because you can select the codes. but I'll stick with this. So I highlight this, get to know our brand new workspace, QTT, questions, themes, theories. I think that's the order. If I want to code this, I can drag this to tools. And that has created a code. I can also click on the name code and add a code comment. I'm a big fan of code comments. I think code comments are essential to your work, to doing good analysis, because you'll know why you did this. And I'm just going to say QTT. Now you're saying, well, wait a second, why? What's the big deal about that? Well, when I'm using the sidebar and in analysis, and if I'm using document summarization tools, all my comments are accessible to me. I can even search them in the Word Explorer. So I've coded this QTT, and you'll notice because I have the right sidebar on and I have memos and comments turned on, it's comments or paraphrases. I can't have them both. I can see my comments as I go through. So that's one way to code, literally. And so I'll undo this code. And I'll repeat that. And it's just simply drag to the code, tools. I lost the comment, right? So I'll add it back. Another way of doing it is to use this tool, which will let me code based on prior tools. The list of the codes that I have here. So I could say tools, and it's coded it. A little Command Z or Control Z can undo anything. A comment is an annotation to a very specific, to a coded segment. A memo is an in-text note. Memos can be much longer. Coded segment code comments are limited to like 255 characters. They are searchable now, finally, in MAXQDA 2022 using Word Explorer. But they have different sort of analytical purposes. I tend to use memos for bigger things, and I'm going to be flipping out of this soon to go back to the example project, sort of showing you stuff there. But that'll show some examples including it. You might want to look for on the YouTube channel, look for my webinar on memos, comments, and paraphrases. That might provide you with a little bit more depth. Say I want to create a new code here. I'm going to take this segment. I could do this, create with a new code, and I'm going to call this teamwork. I'm going to change its color, add in the comment, click OK. I don't have a comment on this particular segment, but I could. All right, so it's like I will add one, Team Cloud. Click OK. Now you'll notice I've created a new code. It's sitting up here at the main level, so I can move that if I want. But it's not really a tool. This is more of a different focus. I'll leave it right there. And I automatically created and added a code comment to that. Now, say for some reason this was an important phrase to me. And I wanted to code that phrase by itself. Highlight it. I can use in vivo coding. Boom. In vivo coding instantly creates the code. Now it uses a different color there, but I can right click on that code and change that color if I want. I'll also point out, if I click on the code, it'll highlight in the color of the code what you've coded. Same if I do this. You'll notice with this in vivo coding, I can't create a comment at the beginning, but if I wanted a comment, I could double click on it and add it in later. I can also use highlighting coding. Now, this literally uses the color for the name, red. I don't know about you, but I think that looks more like pink. but what's nice about this is, so now I have an icon here with that icon. I can change that meaning in the project, and I can give it a new name. Might help if I wasn't right-clicked. And now, anytime I code with research projects, it will not only use the name of the code, but it will automatically highlight it. So if you are the type of user that is a researcher that really likes having your coded data being color coded sort of visually, these five different color icons are really useful. There's just 5 of them. I can also use the emoticon window and emoticode, excuse me. God, I have a lot of options. I'm trying to find computer icon, and because I'm looking for it, I'm not finding it. Doesn't really matter. There we go. I can code something with the emoticode. Got this little iMac here. Now, again, want to change the name because it doesn't even have a name. I just rename it to networking. And now, anytime, say this was about networking, anytime I code that, it'll be networking. But the difference here, if you use emoticode, you don't get the name here. They'll show up here, but they don't show up here. So it's got to be a choice. And it's just a question of a choice. In all honesty, I don't use them. I do occasionally use the highlighter. I'm working on a project where we're involving transcripts of video conferences, and the transcript that was provided for us, it's in a PDF format. The transcript had some document corrections. They're errors. It used the word late instead of light, and which completely changed the meaning of the sentence. And we went back to the video and we confirmed that it was supposed to be light. And so we used that. We used the highlighting code to, since we already had the PDF in our project, we didn't edit the PDF beforehand. We used the highlighting code so that it kind of highlights it to say this is a document correction, and we added in a comment explaining it's really what it was supposed to be. What other ways can I code here? Oh, if I don't like this code, I can undo it. I guess I can't. Not for that. Well, let's see. Max Days 2022. For whatever reason, I'm not getting the undo to work there. But if I use a Command Z, I can delete it. Now, when I Command Z, because I created the code, it deleted the code there. So I'm going to add this as a code. Oops. I'm always doing that. Now, say I want to keep the code, but I don't really want to code this. Right click on it, select delete. So with this one, these are just some of the ways in which we create the codes. I want to go back to the sample document, the sample project, and I want to show you a couple different tools as well. I was asked the question about a memo. So here's an example here. This segment has a memo in it, which shows up here. Could that memo have been a code comment? Absolutely. So I could literally copy that if I wanted to. It's a question of choice, but I could go to the typical Workday code here and I could add in a memo of it, a comment. So you have control of your choice. You know, you make the choices of the workflow that works best for you. The sample project, no problem. The sample, it is confusing. And I can be honest, I began my MAXQDA days creating memos for everything. And I'd have projects that would have hundreds of memos, much of which were really just little annotations. And I didn't even realize I could code comment at the time. And I so wish in that project I did, because it would have been a much neater and much more useful process of coding with annotations. So this project right here, we've got some interviews that were done, and I've just activated those documents so that we're just looking at these interviews. So they're interviews with David, and we have questions and we have responses, and we have things that have been coded. Okay. And the first round of coding with these in the sample project, the code system about satisfaction, for example, had been used. Now let's say in coding data, I wanted to go further with these codes. We have a tool called the Smart Coding tool. Then when you open it up, it's a new window. You'll notice here it's got all of the code system with all bunch of extraneous stuff in this project. I've activated these documents, so I'm going to select only activated documents. And I'm going to say, all right, typical workday. I'm interested in the responses to typical workday. And now I see 16 coded segments from 10 documents. I see which documents they're in. The Smart Coding tool lets me select the segment, and if I move this out of the way, you'll notice that it automatically goes to the document browser where you're doing it. So if you have the advantage of a 2-monitor setup display, this is really powerful because I can move this off the screen. You're not seeing it anymore, but I'm seeing the Smart Coding tool. I select a different icon segment, and it jumps right in the document browser to me, so I can see it. Well, what do I do with this? Well, first off, this is showing me codes, what this data is already coded. I can select something. Oh, but I'll take this and say I want to add in a new code for kind of, it says he gets up around 8 a.m., right? So, you know, kind of, I don't know, we'll make late sleeper. I wish I could sleep till 8. In the Smart Coding tool, I can right click, create and assign a new code. Just like anything else, right? Wake up time. Now, we're selected with typical workday here. I'm going to click OK. Now, you'll notice there's a subcode, typical workday, and now wake up time shows up. Okay. There's also a thing for comments. I can add in a comment. Now, if I do it like this, there is a consequence. Okay, this comment is going to get, so I click on it, sleeps until 8 a.m. Actually, it's no consequence. It's not bad. It's only repeating it once. It's putting it in for, oh, that's the other thing. When you're in Smart Coding tool, you can see what's behind you. Yeah, I'm going to show you different ways with it. So yes, but you can't, it makes noises here. You can't access that until you close the Smart Coding tool. But what it's done is it's coded this entire paragraph or segment, which was really about typical workday, as wake up time. So typical workday, notice now that gets the comment sleeps until 8 a.m. All right. Relationships, wake up time. It's all the same thing. Well, maybe that's useful, maybe it's not. So I'm going to go back in. Typical workday. I'm going to delete the code wake up time. Just with the X. I'm going to delete the comment too. So now it's gone, but the code is still there. I can go within the Smart Coding tool and highlight a segment I would probably do even a little bit longer there. But with that highlighted segment, I can drag that to wake up time. Ah! Notice when I clicked on wake up time, it shifted my smart coding tool. So I'll go back to typical workday. Now wake up time is in there, but wake up time itself is only this. The rest of this is not coded as it. So I'll point out, so instead of these interviews here, I'll switch to the focus group. We'll activate those documents. And we do have focus group themes. Smart coding tool. I'm going to select focus group themes. Why is it not activated documents? Moderator, they all got that. Effects on study. So this is a bad example of a focus group theme. Did I do another one in here? There's just one example here because it's all coded this way. You could access it if you had pre-coded these codes. It would be the same thing, but this is the focus group codes are what are going on here. I'll try something else. Yeah, because with the focus group, it's getting all of this, and it's about the speakers. So I just have Olga. Yeah. You know what? In a few weeks, I'm doing a full webinar on. I haven't really done much with focus groups with the smart coding tool in a while, and I need to kind of refresh. So I'm going to be honest about that. And I don't want to go much deeper on that because we won't get through everything I want you to learn today in the 25 minutes we have left. But you can use it. It depends on how your data is coded, and unfortunately, this data is not coded well. Because there's been no actual work with it in this particular project. Can I look at the code, including all of its subcodes? Yeah, in the sense of, I think you're asking, can I see all of the segments for each of these? The answer at the same time? The answer is no. I can only view one code at a time. But I can see all of the codes that are assigned. We were looking at what Workday, right? And you can see this segment has all of those codes that are included.
Just for understanding, if I look at the flexibility thing, which is like no part of the text directly assigned to the code flexibility itself and only has subcodes, there's no chance to see like all the coded segments that were assigned to flexibility via the subcodes, right?
Not unless you have chosen to take all of these and code these also as flexibility. You have a choice with parent codes to code the parent or not. And so I have some projects where I've done that, in which case, yeah, I could easily see both. in which case I would see the whole thing. All right, I'm going to have to hunt, but let me find it. I've got an example. Oh, God, where's historical? It's only because I'm looking for it that it won't show up. All right, historical exonerations. 20 days. Okay, so this project, you'll notice here's the parent code, and then here are the subcodes. And you'll notice the parent code was coded, right? I'm going to activate those. I'm going to go to Smart Coding Tool. Violence or threat of violence. Here are all of my codes that are about violence or the threat of violence. If I select police misconduct, yeah, I'm getting the whole thing.
Makes sense, thank you.
Yeah. So yes, only if you have coded the parent code. And it really depends. That's a choice. And sometimes that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Sometimes that makes a lot of sense. So my current project, one of my current projects, I've got like 3 going on right now, is I'm analyzing thousands of tweets that are in documents. And so I'm in August 2020 right now, and we've got in this particular, each column is a tweet. I'm using Smart Coding Tool. And first off, you'll notice I'll select COVID. And initially it's going to say I've got 5,000 coded segments. I can't work with that. So I go to, might help if I activate the dang document first. Sorry. Activate the document, Smart Coding Tool. Only activated documents. Now I have 225. And so I literally have my goal. I've been doing a lot of auto coding of these tweets. I've been doing a lot of auto coding, but I am primarily interested in how do I categorize each tweet. Is it evidence-based? Is it educational or about prevention? Does it explain things? Is it providing guidance in a specific form? Is it action-based? Is it event or is it case data? I'm not even using timeline anymore. I used to. And I would use I've pre-coded these tweets in each column basically if it includes a variety of terms that are about the pandemic. Usually it'll just have hashtag COVID-19. And I literally select a code. Okay, so this is providing case data. And I literally kind of go with I could also add that to timeline if I wanted. This has been a godsend for coding with this type of data, because if I were to switch out of here and wanted to code this to here, I would have to this is a non-COVID code, I would have to enter the column, select the whole text, and then drag it to something. So it's a powerful tool. I'm going to go back to that other tool, other project. There are also in here, there's also in this sample project some survey data where we had survey questions and we have data that was coded as survey data. And the way that works is we import our documents as from a spreadsheet, or we import it from like this from a spreadsheet or SurveyMonkey. And that will enable us to decide which of our survey questions are documents and which are variables. that in itself is a different topic. But once I have this survey data, now I have these 3 questions here. Okay, why would you spend more? Type of flexible hours. And I can use either smart coding tool to see all those responses and add codes. You'll notice there was a lot of emoticoding being done here, okay, and add comments. I can also accomplish the same thing, except I can't add comments, by going to Analysis, Categorize Survey Data, select Flexible Work Arrangements, only the activated documents. That's important because I'm only looking at those. And now I have something that looks just like it. The only thing is I don't have the column for comments. I wonder if I right click. Nope, can't add comments into here. But this is another way where I could, and I can display all my codes if I want, and to analyze the survey data. So this is another tool, but the categorized survey data also provides the ability to auto code with a dictionary, and that's a MAXDictio tool, but it would let me auto code the results with it. I think I could do the same thing with smart coding. I haven't thought about that recently. Nope, can't. So if I want to use this sort of tool, and I can do it without it being survey data, I could go to the categorize survey data and I could select, let me go back here, go back to my interviews, right? And I could take my interview questions like typical work day, and I could do the same thing here, adding codes to it. I can select subcomponents of it. And I have the ability to add in dictionary terms. I don't know. I'm going to make 2 up. I'll make wake up, and the search will be, what was the word there? Wake up. Yeah, I'll take both as full words. And I have the ability to auto code a search item. So anytime I have the word wake, it's automatically coding that. So that's a MAXDictio feature, which is fairly advanced, and it requires a lot more time than we have here. But I want to at least point it out. My point here is, and I'm afraid I can overwhelm you with this, there are so many ways of accomplishing the same things. But let me show you something else. Word Explorer is brand new in MAXQDA 2022. I use it. I have barely even touched text search and autocode anymore. I love Word Explorer. Career is going to show up in some of these documents. Actually, it shows up 118 hits in 10 documents. Actually, and a bunch of it came out of the Twitter data that was there. So I'm going to say only activated documents. Career. Wait, I need to reset my activations. interviews. It's still getting it. Oh, okay, brain. Only activated documents. 7 hits. The word career shows up 7 times, 7 documents, or 7 segments. Those search results I can see and I can code. Now I could code with the last code I've created. I have a career code right here. Or I can create a new code. I'm going to call this, I'll let it use the all code, the auto code all career. Click OK. It will ask me, do I want to select the search item, sentence, or paragraph? You don't want the item, because if you do, it's only going to code the word career. That's just a word count. Do the sentence or the paragraph that it's in. You choose, or multiples. I'll say paragraph. Click auto code. Gave me 5 segments. I can close those search results. Here's auto code, and I can see all those responses. I also will notice here the word career appears in one memo, Kazami, in the document summary. Don't want to put career on the back burner. It occurs in a coding comment for Kazami. You might not see it there. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, that's the, oh, it's right here. The comment. This is the segment, and this is the comment. It also occurs in a summary grid, a summary, document summary. So if I looked at the summary grid for Kazami, which I can't see because they're too small. The word career shows up in here, I believe. It must, but I'm not seeing it. "30-hour work week." Okay, it was something different. Yeah. And it shows up in a paraphrase. The Word Explorer lets you search your code comments, your summaries, and your paraphrases, and your memos all at once. And you can auto-code anything. It shows you the codes where it shows up in, and obviously here I just coded this, right? The all career. And so I can see it, and if I wanted to further code it, I can. So let's say I haven't coded this yet. Oh, I did the auto code, right? Okay. So let's pretend we're running this search. We've got these 7 hits, and I want to use a previously used code. And I actually have a code here called career. If I select this, it will give me the last 2 codes the last codes I've used, but that's not what I want. So I could go to click the code career once. I've got all of these highlighted in a sense because I haven't turned them off. I'll turn that one off, and I'll turn that one off just for the heck of it. I could click this, and now career shows up because it's the last one I had clicked on. And I'll stick with paragraph and auto code. It added me the 2 segments in which that occurred. It actually occurred more, but I think I've already coded that before in a demo. I use Word Explorer all the time. If you've taken my Word Explorer and MAXDictio webinar, we spent a lot of time showing how I use it with this massive data set of tweets because there's so much there. But I'm hopeful that you can sort of see the potential here as of auto coding. I could also auto code by using a simple text search career, um, and I'll get all the results with career that come throughout the project because I didn't limit it to I did to activated documents. There we go. And then I can do the same thing. I just prefer the power of Word Explorer because I can see where the codes are. What other questions do you have? I hope this has been helpful. You know, you can get overwhelmed and you can do an awful lot with this. You just have to pick a workflow that works for you. Uh, notice here for some reason Riley's not activated. I don't know why. Well, folks, that is an overview of coding. I hope it's been helpful. Uh, um, it's one of many, it's an essential tool, and you want to spend time thinking it through of how you do it. But I can't reiterate it enough. As someone, use code comments. You will find so much value in when you use code comments because it will provide you with the ability to see what your notes look like as you're going through a project, and it's really powerful. Um, um, and anytime you're in the analysis stage, when you're looking at a retrieved segment, you'll be able to see how you commented on it at the time.